It's Saturday night, the 16th of October, and this is an upload with regard to the ongoing issues of very guilty culprits of slander of my character, my reputation, and good name, violating proximity protection entitlements that are automatically mine, and also violating procedures and protocol. So, the matter that I'm raising a huge concern about for women and children's rights today and tonight is the issue of repeat offenders that have disrespected women and children's rights and that have violated my protection rights. So, as we know, everyone's good name is very important, and the defamation laws in Ireland are to safeguard people's good names and reputations and professions, and incompetent professionals or practitioners, however they consider themselves to be conducting themselves in whatever manner, shape, or form. Those kind of individuals that give a bad reputation based on falsehoods, false claims, or any fallacies are not conducive to progress in society. And as a humanitarian, I have a huge concern about individuals facilitating liabilities that I've been confronted with in these circumstances since giving birth and since being a married mom. The issue of individuals in my hometown where I've been born and bred, individuals being really over preoccupied, over consumed, and to the point of neurotic with regard to my property farm holdings. It's just been absolutely outrageous in Tralee, County Kerry, and representatives of the healthcare providers that are acting on behalf of culprits of offences against the state are all liabilities to the future progress of society. Now, individuals that have intruded and imposed upon my private abode since I gave birth, this is in 2015, and for it to be happening today, still in 2021, without due process, with ombudsman and the DPP, the authorities, like as a woman, we're all very preoccupied and concerned about our safety and security. And as a representative of the sanity and sobriety concepts, I find it very insulting for practitioners to be imposing and intruding upon private citizens, be you high up or low down, individuals living on their own, tolerating imposters that are guilty of slander aren't really helpful for humanity or human rights, especially when they're disrespecting humanitarian work that has been conducted in a hometown where they are only recently present. So this upload is with regard to many facets of all the problems that I'm confronted with without, since 2017, without ombudsmen actually doing their jobs properly and without the government actually honouring its obligations to my position, role, title, and function in society. So there's an issue of treason, there's an issue of hate crime, there's an issue of false claims, there's an issue of slander. All of these matters are being raised in this entire vendetta that's been going on for the past 6 years since I became a married mother. And it's quite offensive to the healthcare providers as well that there are representatives of their agencies that have been incompetent and not functioning to good practice or good standards, and deviating and avoiding by any means that has occurred in this circumstance. Avoidance tactics have been very prevalent. Avoidance of individuals that have not been able to confront their failings or shortcomings or defects in their profession are all failing society and failing future families and children as well. So it's really disappointing as a teacher with a clean track record, and that is owed a huge debt from my home country, that these people are still disrupting society, basically causing awful harm to faith and family. That's the concept I'm basing this on. My family have been really horrifically intruded upon, and an innocent child has been damaged, and the ombudsman have been made aware since 2017, and the local agency and healthcare providers and their representatives that are of slander and defamation and working with culprits of offences against the state, that failed to acknowledge recent legislation and the presence I played in that development in legislation in this country. As I'm of legislation as well, It's just absolutely abhorrent that there are incompetent professionals still imposing in my proximity and not understanding boundaries. And as for farm holdings and their boundaries, it's really disrespectful to faith and family as well in that respect, especially when there's been a child harmed in an unlawful care order that the Ombudsman are made aware of since 2017. So this entire issue of the DPP being aware of my circumstances and without the protection, the protocol, the procedures, not a single issue fully addressed, while the culprits of offences against the state that have been of defamation and slander and such and controversy and disrespecting the role of media. As a BA graduate in Language and Cultural Studies, it's embarrassing that these individuals of defamation and slander and bad publicity have been able to broadcast people's personal information in a community, as has happened in my personal case. There have been individuals that have damaged the wildlife of this community, they have damaged people's privacy and personal information, and they have damaged the role of media. So there is beggar's belief, and there's favouring, and there's bargaining, and there's negotiating that really isn't tolerable. And for people to be discussing my role, title, position, function, and all that I have worked for and earned and that I'm entitled to, and the obligations of the government not to be fulfilled to a royal Fernan in this country, my home country, to be insulted by individuals that aren't of this country, to be insulted by practitioners that aren't professional in their practices, insulting the field of education, as I have a clean track record. It's quite serious what I'm tolerating. So this is for the update of today, with people disrespecting sanity and sobriety in society, disrespecting civil society policies, people not doing their jobs properly, and individuals being blatantly ignorant where they've no right to be. So as for the authorities and your role, I hope you're considering the role of future women and young babies in society with regard to the circumstances I've tolerated and the issue of legislation that I've played a role in as well, and the obligations that the government has to fulfil the Constitution and the citizens of law-abiding status with a clean track record with no criminal offences, such as in my case, for the constitutional rights of all these people in this country, the democracy, to be respected. So there's a lot of issues going on still in Tralee. 6 years on since I gave birth and became a married mother, and it's a sad sign of the times. So I really hope all the relevant bodies and agencies are aware of the incompetence and the unprofessional standards and the blatant ignorance of people slandering a good name in a democracy in 2021 to facilitate incompetent individuals of bad publicity and bad practices and bad developments that have hurt and harmed nature, wildlife, privacy, and this community with artificial information, artificial developments, and artificial progress. And I hope that the Honourable Government will honour its obligations to my royal family and the child that I gave birth to that has been harmed and traumatised as a consequence of individuals in my proximity, still to this day, causing repeat offences and exacerbation. So this is Maria McElligott from Tralee County, Kerry, and I'm still waiting for the United Nations since 2019 when they were notified with my European Court of Human Rights application. And I'd appreciate the Ombudsman that I contacted in 2017, acknowledging that there's professionals and practitioners of their agencies and representatives of their within their remit, failing their agencies and failing their reputation with their incompetence, and individuals discussing and negotiating matters that they have no entitlement to. So it's all very serious for the democracy when these kind of matters are occurring, and it would be really, really brave of good politics to be present and positively displayed to the rest of the world, rather than controversy and conspiracy and fallacies being facilitated when it's common knowledge already with the bad publicity that's already been happening. So the United Nations, there's a task at hand in Tralee, County Kerry to address human rights abuses and inhumane behaviour against an innocent baby boy I gave birth to, and a mother, property owner, humanitarian, and an educator with a very clean track record, being disrespected due to treason and hate crime and incompetent human beings.